Good afternoon and welcome to BizTech's Asian Midday Market Watch. It is Wednesday, the 16th of June, and we have James Whelan, Managing Director of Amfex, the Australian Mutual Funds Exchange, coming out to us from Sydney. James, as always, great to have you on the show.
Great to be here, Brian. How are you now?
Good, thanks, mate. Now, first of all, the numbers out of the US are out, and the signs are of a cooling labor market and slower consumer spending. So we had jobless claims that came in at 262,000, unchanged from the previous week, highest level in 18 months. Retail sales also grew 0.3%, above consensus, but more moderate than the previous month. What is this all pointing out to?
It's pointing to a soft landing in the US, and it's pointing to I hate to say it, it's pointing to, I don't hate to say it, I love to say it, but it's pointing to a Federal Reserve that seems to have achieved its target of trying to get the US economy just easing and landing into things slowing down, but not slowing down too much. You just need it to be, it's a difficult one to explain. You got to try and slow it down just enough where the economy is still not broken and things aren't falling off the side of the road, but just enough that everything is still ticking over. I think that maybe they've achieved it. The latest data and the latest numbers that we've seen, everything since earlier in the week, or it was actually 2 days ago, when the Fed announced that they were going to be skipping potentially a rate hike for this month, and maybe looking at data next month and the month after. If they look at data like this, and they're probably going to continue to keep that pause going, and maybe at the top of their hiking cycle, which would be great. Markets performed amazingly well off the back of it, which is showing that for the first and one of those rare times that we've seen in the last few years, good news is actually good news. So the US economy, fine. The US consumer, which is 60% or more of the US economy, so 15% of the world's economy, is showing that they're fine as well. Not blowing the lights out, but you don't want them to. They're just slowing down just enough, but also still maintaining that growth that they've got. Beating expectations, which were actually low, but still the market goes up. So the flows that were going into market on the back of this good news is all because of the fact that it's potential that the Fed is actually going to be holding for longer. Now, how long they keep rates up is a whole different story, and what is going to break because of that. But save that for a different episode, right?
Okay, but so on the flip side of the equation, closer to home for us, the signs are rather ominous. So New Zealand has slipped into technical recession.
Yep.
Australia's bond yield curve has inverted for the first time since 2008. So those signs aren't pretty signs.
No, they're not amazing signs. We've seen that New Zealand, for genuinely since COVID, has sort of led us or led the rest of the world in their cycle and what they're doing. Higher rates, a little bit faster to tighten than Australia was. Now they've gone into an official recession. Now that does spell that we should be looking to our neighbours to the right of us on the map to see where we're going, and I think that we are going into a recession. I would stake this claim right now that I think that Australia is in a recession right now, yet to be done. Obviously, you got to go through two consecutive quarters of negative growth, and for it to be officially declared as well. But
James, the labour market doesn't say that. The labour market in Australia is white hot.
Yeah, it is, and because it is hot, and because wages are still going up, that the RBA does have to keep on hiking. And the biggest thing that's really starting to scare a lot of the pundits. First off, the bond market knows what the bond market knows, and if the yield curve, the 10 to 2s yield curve, has inverted for the first time since 2008, you've got to pay attention to that. You can't just ignore it and think it's not going to happen. Now, a big part of this is because wages and the labour market have continued to show such strength. Now, because they're showing such strength, and we've got an RBA that does not care about what anyone else is really going through. They are monitoring, obviously they are, but families are really struggling out there. We've seen delinquencies, 30-day or more delinquencies and mortgages going through the roof. And that is also a number that we haven't seen go as high since forever, really. So we're actually seeing mortgage. So this is where we've sort of got a few different economies sort of bubbling away. Whilst we can see that sentiment is down, we can see that spending is also now starting to go down for discretionary items. But we are seeing things like wages are still up. Things like the labour market is still fine. Unemployment is still fine. It's a very strange, choppy market. And we've got an RBA that's going to continue to hike rates in the face of of all the struggle that families are out there having. So it's one of those situations where if you ask the right person, you see the economy is fine. If you ask a different person, they'll tell you that we're in a bit of trouble. we are we are in recessionary field, mate.
Okay, so but in recessionary field, and just final question, James, what sort of terminal rates are we looking at in Australia?
It was about December 2001 when I said that we should not discount that 5% is on the table. I got widely laughed out of the room for that, for even suggesting it, because it was almost zero at the time. I still hold that we could be looking at somewhere like a 5% number on it. Getting anywhere around there, you'd have to talk to someone who's got some slightly edgier data in front of them than they do. But it's one of those, feels like the wind is right for about a 5%, and that's really going to cause a lot of tightening, even more so for Australian families. We're going to see some real. It will flow through to the economy, especially in that discretionary sector. Staples should do okay. Defensive should do okay. We've also got a China which is slowing down. So they're not there to save us right now with regards to some of the things that we need them to do. So it's not looking amazing for the Australian economy, but we always find a way to muddle through.
Absolutely. Now, James, as always, thanks for your insight. Thanks for coming on the show.
No problem, Brian. Have yourself a good weekend.
I'm Brian Fernandez, and we've been speaking to James Whelan, Managing Director of Amfex, the Australian Funds Exchange, on BizTech's Asian Midday Market Watch. This interview will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks for tuning in.